Portfolio rule number 2. You always need portfolio rules so you know what your limits are, so you don't get caught. And we all know the feeling of getting caught. It's a horrible feeling. You'll destroy your account. Let's look at Warren Buffett's portfolio again. The reason why I keep coming back to Warren Buffett's portfolio is he is extremely transparent with his portfolio. Extremely transparent. And so we can do deep dives on it if we want. We could take a look at some of the, try and figure out what his rules are. Now, a lot of mutual funds will only, well, most mutual funds will only give you their top 10 holdings, and they may not even give you what their cash holdings are. So they keep it pretty secretive. There are some rules that are put in place for mutual funds and liquidity purposes, but hedge funds are a lot more secretive, and they usually operate in margin. They don't operate in cash, and I'm going to talk about that here in a second. Berkshire Hathaway right here, 351 billion with a B is his portfolio, or is their portfolio, with a cash of 147 billion. That's about 40% cash. Now, when you have a $350 billion account, 40% cash is massive amounts of cash. And let me tell you why. Is he can't spend that 147 billion. He can't. So for instance, let's take an example here. See how he's 45% of Apple, and he's 8% of Bank of America, and he's 6% of American Express. If he tried to buy more of these holdings, he would have to disclose it. He would have to do a lot of paperwork. He would have to meet with people. He would probably have to get board of directors on board. He would have to do a lot of work. I mean, he'd probably get it done, obviously, but he would have to get a lot of work. This is like one of those memes where if I gave you $1 billion today, would you be able to spend it by the end of the day? One of those. The answer for Warren Buffett is no. He can't allocate this 147 billion like that. He has to. It takes tedious amounts of work. It takes a lot for him to liquidate 147 billion. So 40% is a massive amount. The bigger your portfolio is, the more cash percentages matter. So let's look at a normal portfolio margin account. Normal portfolio margin account for a business. Let's take a look. Now, these aren't the exact ratios, or these are the exact ratios that I have, but these aren't the balances that I have. So we're just looking at a normal portfolio margin business account. So let's say the portfolio is 100,000. Okay, that's 50% invested and 50% cash. Now the maintenance requirement, so all he needs to have in this account to cover this $100,000 portfolio is 15,000. So if the account went all the way down to 15,000, they would not liquidate his holdings. Okay, so that's 15. That's roughly 6-1, and that's a typical portfolio margin business account. Now cash here, he's got 50% cash. His cash buying power is 200,000. Okay, so he can go all the way up to 200,000 in cash buying power. Now his max purchasing power is 1.2 million, and that's based off of this 15%. So if he maxed out all of his margin, you could hold 1.2 million in terms of portfolio. Now that's a 600% leverage, which means anything goes against you, you're gonna take massive losses. But if anything pops, you're gonna make massive gains, and that's because these gains aren't off the 1.2 million. These gains are off the 100 or the 200,000. So for instance, let's say this 1.2 million moves 200,000. That's in a $1.2 million account. 200,000 is big. That's a big move, but 200,000 on 200,000, that's a 100% move. So if they maxed out their portfolio margin here, 1.2 million, it moved 200,000, which is fine. It would be $100,000 gain. I don't know, or it'd be 100% gain. I don't know if you followed that or not, but that is what leverage does for you. And that's why you see all these hedge funds, all of a sudden these hedge funds have to liquidate. All of a sudden they're shut down. They're getting sued. People are coming after them. That's because they leverage their 1.2 million on some kind of hunch, and then it went against them, and now they owe 1.2 million and they only have 200,000. Okay, that is how they get in trouble. Now, what does this mean? Not only do I have 50% cash here, which 50% cash sounds like a lot, but I could spend 100,000 in a blink of an eye. Okay, if Tesla goes down to $100, then I could pick up 1,000 shares, easy, and I would spend all the 100,000. Now, what gives you that opportunity to do that is this margin right here. I would be able to spend 100,000 and not be super worried about it, because I know that if it goes against me a little bit, I have some additional purchasing power and I have some cushion there. So not only do you want to have a cash cushion, you want to have a margin cushion as well. And this is how I operate my portfolio with these percentages here. I'm about 48% cash right now. At the beginning of the year, I was 150% cash. So yeah, these change, but you have to operate like this. So you keep trading, and the idea is to keep trading.